Welcome to Social Studies at the Center.
Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
What do you do in your life? Take a minute to pause the video and write down a couple things that you do in your day-to-day life.
These are some of the ones that we came up with. One of our biggest examples is going to school. We have the opportunity to go and get an education, or also we have the freedom of speech, so we are able to say what we want within reason.
Men and women of all races have the right to vote. And in addition to that, we all have the right to choose to worship who and what we want, or to not worship.
And all of these are different rights, and these rights are called our civil rights. And so these are guaranteed and granted to us underneath law, where it provides with equality and freedom.
We are now going to learn about some of the people who helped us obtain these civil rights.
Harriet Tubman was a civil rights activist who lived in the United States in the early 1900s. Her mission for her life was to help fight for equal rights for women and for African Americans. One of the things that she is most known for is the Underground Railroad system. This was a system or path that helped free hundreds of African American slaves from the South to the North. Harriet Tubman would help slaves escape by traveling through the Underground Railroad at night. The railroad was a system of houses and paths that were safe to travel by to help slaves get from the South to the North to find their freedom. Harriet Tubman was also a suffragist, who is someone who fights for the right to vote. She wanted to make sure that both men and women could vote. She also was a Union spy and helped lead a military raid. You can learn more about Harriet Tubman by looking at the poster shown on your screen. For more information, you can read the book titled Before She Was Harriet by Lisa Klein Ransom.
Another one of the individuals who played a big role in the civil rights was Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was an American lawyer and jurist, and she was actually also the second female to become a justice of the Supreme Court. She was the director of the Women's Rights Project of the American Civil Rights Liberty Union. She believed that there should be equality for all gender. She wanted to make sure that females had the same rights as male and that neither were above the other, but it was equality for everyone. She even won the American Bar Association Thurgood Marshall's Award for her contributions to gender equality and civil rights. So she was a big help for making sure that everyone was able to get gender equality.
Hi, today I'm going to share about Ruby Bridges. When she was a young girl, black students weren't allowed to attend school with white students. However, when she was 6, they made a law that made it for black students to be allowed to go to school with white students. She was the first black student to go to this school. Every day she would show up and she was yelled at, bullied, and called names. And she knew this would happen every day. It didn't stop, but she still wanted to go to school and get the education she deserved. So she continued to go and persisted and persevered through this, not allowing the mean people to prevent her from going to school. That whole entire school year, she was the only one in her classroom, and she didn't have any friends. However, she was a great example of perseverance and courage and bravery, as we can look at her for an example of how to continue to be brave even in the midst of bullies and mean people and when everything is against us. And now today, there is a lot more equality when we go to school, and now Black people and white people can go to school together.
Hello, everyone. Today I chose to talk about Susan B. Anthony and her impact in the civil rights movement. When Susan B. Anthony was alive, during her time, women were not allowed to vote or really express their opinion about anything. So she started the National Women's Suffrage Association, which is a big, long word. But this was basically a group that would fight for women's rights not only to vote, but to be able to work and be equal like men. And because of Susan B. Anthony, eventually the 19th Amendment was passed, which allowed women to vote. So because of Susan B. Anthony, women are allowed to vote today for the president or in their local communities, and I'm really glad that Susan B. Anthony fought for women's rights.
Rosa Parks was sitting in a section on the bus that was designated for Black people to sit in. And during this time when she was alive, white people would sit at the front of the bus and Black people would sit at the back of the bus. And so she was sitting in an area designated for her to sit in when the bus driver asked her to give up her seat for white people to sit there since their section was full. She refused, and she stayed in her spot. This caused her to go to jail and eventually led to the bus boycott, which over a year later, the segregation of the buses was taken away. But it was a pivotal moment that allowed for our civil rights of freedom of movement.
Nelson Mandela was an anti-apartheid and political activist in South Africa. He fought to tear down the oppressive government and replace it with a democracy. He fought for decades against a racist, divisive apartheid system in South Africa and fought for equality and freedom for all people. He taught people to remain peaceful and nonviolent to achieve their goal. He did help achieve their goal of equality and was elected to be the first president of South Africa until 1999. To learn more about Nelson Mandela and how he changed the world, I invite you to read the book Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom by Chris Van Wyck.
I chose to make my poster about Abraham Lincoln. You might recognize Abraham Lincoln because he is on the penny and the $5 bill. He was the 16th president of the United States and was president during the Civil War. A reason the Civil War was fought was because of slavery, and Abraham disliked slavery and he wanted to set the slaves free. Then, on January 1st, 1863, he passed the Emancipation Proclamation, which ended slavery in the United States and made steps towards equality for all people.
Last, but certainly not least, is Martin Luther King Jr. At the start of this video, we got a glimpse at his famous I Have a Dream speech. His dream was to have equality for all people in the United States, and that everyone can hold hands and come together as one, no matter the color of their skin. He hoped for peace in the nation, and he participated in and started peaceful protests during the civil rights movement. He was a leader and furthered the progression of desegregation in the United States. He sadly was assassinated, but his actions were not in vain because after a long fight, everything he stood for was accomplished. Desegregation in the United States happened, and everyone was made equal and had an opportunity to do whatever they pleased. He is a hero and is the reason we have a holiday this week. We are able to celebrate his life and all the progress he has made in this country. He is a monumental figure in the United States. If you want to learn more about him, I invite you to look at the poster above and read the book, I Have a Dream, to learn everything that he stood for.
Wow, friends, we learned a lot about the civil rights today and the people that are behind the civil rights movements and the figures that are the face of the civil rights movement. We talked about what civil rights are at the beginning of this video, but let's go over it again. Civil rights are the rights that everyone has and makes it equal for everyone in the nation. So some of those equal rights that everyone has the right to is the right to vote, the right to a fair trial, the right to privacy, the right to go to school and have an education, the freedom to speak, and the freedom to move wherever you want, and the freedom of religion. And last but not least, no discrimination. So discrimination means not being treated unfairly due to your skin tone or your gender or any other thing that you can be discriminated against. We now have an invitation for you guys. Now that you've learned about the civil rights, we want to invite you to choose an individual and learn more about their impact on the civil rights movement. You can choose somebody that we shared in this video and learn more about them, or you can find somebody new and learn about their impact along with the others that you've learned about. We thank you so much for learning with us today, friends, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye!